Howdy, everybody. Hope everybody enjoyed their Taco Tuesday. We're moving on, and we're going to talk to you about the next story time that occurred. And once again, most of my good stories are in the mid 80s because I'm an old timer. I'm declining. I don't do many exciting things anymore, but we're fixing to try and change that sometime in the near future. But so this is a this is funny. If you watched my last episode, it took place near Ellesmere. So the Delaware State Police jurisdictional line and the Ellesmere Police line was very very close to where this episode 71 takes place. So I dispatch Trooper DiGiacomo to a bank for possible transaction of some type of bad check bank fraud. So I forget all the detail. I know the gist of it, like with the important parts, but basically he gets there and there's somebody trying to pass fraudulent checks or something like that. So he was able to talk to the individual, handcuff the individual, put him in the back of the police car, and in the old days, they didn't have the cages. They may have had that in the city police departments, but the Delaware State Police did not have the cages or the barriers between the driver's cab and the rear pass, the rear prisoner cab or whatever you want to call it, suspect area. So he apparently left the keys in the vehicle and I think the vehicle's running, but basically he pulls up, jumps out, does all that, and then runs in, apprehends the guy, gets him handcuffed. Apparently, I'm assuming he did all in Miranda and all that good stuff. I wasn't privy to all that details, but puts the guy in the back seat, and then he's talking to some of the bank employees. Well, while that's occurring, the guy somehow, you never handcuff anybody in the front because first of all, they can come over and like they can strangle you or, they can get out. Well, somehow this person was very limber and was able to get the handcuffs beneath them and hopped over the seat and dropped that into drive. So Trooper Giacomo sees this occurring, and he's fearful for what could happen because he still has his service shotgun in the vehicle, and now it's could be a very very dangerous, threatening situation on the roads. So he has to make a split second decision. So he pulls out his service revolver and open fires on his own vehicle with the suspect driving away. And it was major chaos at that time. I was on the main radio, and everybody was searching for this vehicle. But mind you, now you have to be very, very crisp and sharp and think like the criminal, basically, when something like that would occur while you're on the radio. I'm not like tooting my own horn, but I felt very, very proud of what I did during this situation. So channel 1 was what we called high band. That was the main frequency. And since we were so close to the Wilmington city limits and the Ellesmere Police Department area, we had high band and low band. Low band, I think, was channel 4, and we had a frequency which is a federal frequency. It was called TAC 8, channel 8, whatever. So once I understand what's going on, the trooper's freaking out because he had to discharge his weapon on his own vehicle, and now he's sweating bullets, literally, and sweating and shooting bullets. And so immediately I told everybody, switch to TAC 8. I had other dispatchers. I said, contact 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 Wilmington Police, because they use that more than most agencies. And I said, contact all the Fed. I said, get the helicopter in the air, get the dogs in the air right away. And I would not allow anybody to talk on the main frequency, because this suspect was obviously handcuffed, trying to drive, and probably could not release his hands from the steering wheel to change the radio, try and figure out, So people kept trying to eventually trying to communicate on the main frequency, and I just kept telling them, switch to TAC 8, channel 8. I'm getting a little teared up here. I love that job. I love that job. So the number 3 in the state police, he comes on the radio, and I tell him, switch to TAC 8, channel 8. I didn't say channel 8 because I didn't want the guy to know. If I said channel in plain layman's English, he would understand, and he would just switch the dial possibly to channel 8 and listen to the strategy everybody's going to deploy. So I kept telling Major, HQ4 was his call sign, and I kept telling him, switch to TAC 8, switch to TAC 8. That's all I would say. I was trying to minimize the air traffic, but I didn't want the suspect leaving in a trooper's vehicle to be listening to the strategy. So I love Major Martin. I love that guy. He was so nice to me. And so this went on for, I don't know, like a long time. I forget how long, but I remember, like, we had foot pedals. Like, you're not pressing a button. I'm using my right foot pedal to transmit with, have a headset on, and you're doing all your dialogue that way. So when I was always on the air, I was always very calm, very calm. But when I would release the foot pedal, I might start, using a different colorful vocabulary. And I'll never forget, boy, I thought I was in deep trouble. And I remember saying, like, when we had a little reprieve on some stuff, I said, I can't believe Major HQ4 keeps, freaking not keeps calling on the main frequency, And when I said all that, at that point, he's standing right behind me, watching everything transpire, evaluating everything. And here I'm ripping him. And, but the guy took it very well. He understood it was a stressful situation. He understood everybody was doing everything to the best of their ability. But when you realize you're ripping somebody who you admire and appreciate, because he was the first person that ever took me up in the helicopter, because he still had his pilot's license, and he was part of the aviation unit for the state police. You realize, oh man, oh man, he didn't interrupt the situation, because he just let everything flow, because he realized everybody was doing everything they could do. And so I just pretended like he wasn't even there, and we just kept doing it. They finally find the state police cruiser, and the suspect was wounded somewhere in the shoulder, and did not perish. But it was a very, very stressful time, and the vehicle was found not too far away. It was right near the border. I can't remember if it was in Ellesmere. I know it was right near the line. So the person obviously couldn't drive too far, wounded and, in handcuffs and stuff like that. But I was very, very proud to have everybody get to a different frequency on a quick instinct decision. Like, you never know when you go to work what you're going to run into, like at that job, should I say. And that was one of the days I felt very, very proud of my communication skills, if you want to call it that. I know it sounds like I'm tooting my own horn, but it was very, very important for everybody to do the right thing. And fortunately, it did work out. Everybody, you know, they learned from a little bit of the mistakes, you know, in that incident. The trooper, in my opinion, even though it was like a weird situation, I think he responded well. And, you know, times change, you know, that may not have been the right decision in today's times, but when you realize, you know, where's this person going? There's a, you know, loaded shot, not a loaded shot. There's a shotgun that has around it. It's not chambered or anything, because they need to make quick decisions. But so you just, it's just weird. I don't know how to describe it, but you have to be on your toes and try and think quickly. And when I say that, I'm not just talking from dispatcher's perspective, but for a trooper or any law enforcement type person, you just, you have to go with your instinct, your quick, because if you sit there and try and think too long and analyze, you may miss the opportunity. You know, like if Trooper Giacomo waited, couldn't get the shot, you know, if he waited, thought about it for, you know, God knows. But because the rear window was shot out and everybody knew that wasn't a normal cruiser, anybody could, you know, there was a lot of police cars, state police cars driving around at that time. All they had to look for basically was the one with the window shot out. You know, that was a good, big red flag, a big clue. So it was just very interesting. I enjoyed my life back then tremendously with the, you know, the service as a dispatcher, but the pay was, you know, just god awful terrible. But, you know, I wish I could have wrote it out longer. I would be retired right now with a pension, and my life would be a whole lot different. But, you know, it was always exciting. You never knew what you're going to get. But, and I always preferred the night shift because this did occur. I don't, obviously the banks were open, so this was a day shift incident. You didn't get a lot of real high impact things during the daytime shift. This was one of those days. So anyway, I appreciate everybody tuning in, coming back to Jailbait and Tackle Outdoors, and let's talk again sometime soon, folks. I really appreciate everybody listening to me. That was one that I was very proud and sorry to be a proud part of, but it was definitely interesting, and it worked out for the better. So anyway, we're going to talk again soon, folks. Remember,